We continue to follow a developing story out of Afghanistan. The Pentagon confirms the United States has dropped a massive bomb on an ISIS cave, actually a series of caves, the so-called mother of all bombs. Joining me now is Dakota Wood. Dakota, a retired lieutenant colonel and senior fellow of national defense at the Heritage Foundation. Dakota, this has been called the most powerful non-nuclear bomb used in combat. What can you tell us about it?
It's about 40 feet long, about 3.5 feet in diameter. It carries a little over 18,000 pounds of explosives with a yield of 11 tons of TNT equivalent. It's an airburst weapon. It's not meant to penetrate the ground. That's a different bomb that the U.S. has in its inventory, but the effects of this particular bomb create massive overpressure. It's a massive blast wave that's particularly effective in going into the tunnels of a cave, such as the target that was struck in Afghanistan.
Yeah, we heard a series of caves. Is that the only reason that this would have been used for the first time in combat, one that's this powerful?
Yeah, tunnels and caves are awesome protection against normal ordnance like mortars and artillery and bombs that would be normally to be delivered by an airplane. So this kind of weapon with that blast wave, extraordinarily effective against this kind of target.
And what is the decision-making process usually for carrying out a mission like this?
It's going to be held at probably the senior command in theater. In this case, it'd be U.S. Central Command. And what that does tell us, though, is that the White House has ceded certain authorities to its field commanders instead of tightly controlling everything here in Washington, D.C. So I would think that General Votel or somebody in that chain would have given the final go-ahead. It's also instructive that the bomb was in theater, which means that this target has been developed for a while, that would call for the deployment of this kind of a weapon from the United States into Afghanistan.
Yeah, we heard President Trump sort of referring to that as far as the command that has been given over to those in charge. The location of this, obviously targeting those in these ISIS caves, but what's the overall impact that they hope to have on ISIS with this bombing?
Well, it'd be the Taliban, I think, in particular, but it certainly tells them that they aren't safe even inside of these cave complexes that they've used for 10 or 15 years. There's also a broader strategic message to China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia, just like the Tomahawk strike into Syria last week.
You mentioned a broader strategic message. Is there any danger here when you tout the fact that this is the most powerful bomb that's been used in combat? If it doesn't have the impact you're hoping, that ISIS can come out and simply say, we survived the most powerful bomb that the U.S. has launched against us?
No, I think that's a very good point. Military analysts will view it one way. Public consumption could be something else. So no weapon is perfectly effective. I mean, even going back to World War II and the atomic bombs, you still had survivors in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as horrific as those attacks were. So this could be used as propaganda value for the Taliban if there are, or ISIS or Al-Qaeda if there are survivors and they use it to that effect.
Dakota Wood with some great perspective for us. Dakota Wood, again, retired lieutenant colonel, senior fellow of the National Defense at the Heritage Foundation. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.